live. And I just wanted to, I'll start with you, Aaron. Where were you and how did you feel when you first found out about this 13-year-old in Utica, New York?
Well, good evening. Thank you so much, Sparkle, for inviting us to this podcast together. I just want to let everyone know my name is Aaron Woodman. I'm from Utica, New York. I am the Civic Engagement Committee chairperson for the NAACP Utica United County branch. I graduated from the University of Rochester in 2023 with a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, and I graduated from the Utica Academy of Science Charter School in 2019. I just wanted to give a little background about myself here. To your question about my initial reaction and how I found out. I found out when I was on social media. I was going through some posts, and then I saw the video from the bystander showing the police officer and the boy like running across the road, and I was like wondering like what's going on here, like what's happening, what escalated to all this. So I was just like confused at first as they were running, and then they all like went to the ground. The police officer like tackled the kid and went to the ground, and I was like again wondering like what's happening here, why are they chasing him? What escalated to this? And then when I heard a gunshot, I was just wondering like what happened. It was just a lot of like confusion and a lot of shocking feelings going through me. It was just me like wondering like what's happening. Like I wasn't even sure who the boy was until I later found out he was a teenager. He was 13 years old, and I'm just like, oh, okay, so we were literally another kid gets shot, and later I found out that he died through the gunshot too as well. It was just like it was just speechless to me. I just didn't know like what was going on here. Like how did this happen here? Like many of us, we were just like confused. We were like shocked and sad and just upset. Like this is the third youth member that we lost in Utica, and this time it was by the police. I was just like again, what's going on here too? So I wanted to just take some time to just hear like what the police had to say and then what the community members had to say. I just want to like get as much information as I possibly can so that I could just and then as I found out through the body cam footage too, like getting the full context here, it was just like, oh, okay. So the police officers, they were talking to him and his friend on the street, and then he ran away, and then the police chased him, and then they saw something that they thought was a gun, and then that like escalated things too. In my mind, I was just like, oh, okay, this is going to be bad, because whenever you like run away, I just know, oh, this is not going to be good too. So, and especially at nighttime, like literally, that's what I was just like worried about too. So, and of course, they get tackled down into the ground, and then saw the gun, and then from the police officer, and then shot him. It was just like, again, just more confusion because you had him on the ground, like he wasn't going anywhere too. So
yeah, thank you.
It's really a lot of sadness and confusion that has just been going through me when I was hearing about this.
Yes, you're right about that. And so I just want everybody to excuse me because I'm a little bit I'm working in a unique way that I usually don't work. So I just wanted to read. Thank you for your expression and your reflection, Aaron. That was really helpful. So I just wanted to, read the introduction for people who might be joining us and might not know what we're talking about. So today's panel discussion is on community and police relations. It's concerned citizens with a community conversation. So I'm just going to read. It says, join us for a crucial and timely vodcast on Reality Speaks TV, where we bring together a diverse panel of community members, leaders, and professionals to discuss the recent tragic event involving a 13-year-old boy in Utica, New York. This event has sparked shockwaves through our community, sparking protests and calls for justice. Our panel will dive into an emotional, social, and legal dimension of this incident, offering insights and perspectives that are vital for understanding and healing. Topics will include the impact on youth safety, the role of law enforcement, community activism, and pathways to meaningful reform. This podcast aims to foster open dialogue, promote understanding, and drive positive change within our community. Stay tuned in as we are part of this conversation, seeking justice and building a safer and trusting community. Let's come together and take action. Listen because our voices matter. And remember, Reality Speaks TV is real people, real talk, and real time. So, Heather, I'm going to ask you, where were you and how did you feel the very first time that you heard about this 13-year-old?
Um, I was on Facebook at like 3 o'clock in the morning and I saw the post on there. So I had no one to talk to at first. I was just taking in all the emotions from it. I wanted to know why. I guess that was the first thing. My first initial thought was, why did this happen? And then the video, I saw the video. And I think that I was more in shock. As a mom, I instantly thought of my own son and was instantly brought into where are the parents, what happened, how are they feeling? But right now, and still answer is why. I mean, I feel like we're all kind of we're waiting. So my initial, I mean, it was sad. It was all, I think we all just felt like we'd all got, as a city, went through this together. We all were hit. We all got together. We all were wondering why. We were all talking. So yeah, I wanted information, and that's where I was at that point. Oh, and by the way, for those who don't know me, I'm Heather Wazalewski, and I do a lot of community advocating. So I'm sorry to introduce myself. Erin did, and I didn't. I just went right into the question. Oh, hi. But no, it was sad. I contacted anyone I knew and trying to get information out and community members. And it was just kind of like this helpless moment. I felt helpless. And yeah, so that was kind of it for me at first. But right now it's just more of really why.
Why is a good question. Thank you, Heather, for your reflection. And I'm going to go in order of appearance to Kevin. How are you, Kevin? Thank you for joining us this evening.
I appreciate you for having me. Hi, everybody. So as far as the question and thinking about like how I was feeling when I first saw it, so I'm one of those kind of people that goes out of their way to not watch videos like this. So for over the years, as far as like Philando Castile, George Floyd, Tamir Rice, like I try to go out of my way not to see these videos. So when I saw it early Saturday morning, it was more so like, I didn't know what it was going to be. I just saw the caption that said it was in Utica. So I clicked on it and watched it. And it was immediate confusion when I heard the gunshot. Cause I'm like, all right, what did I just see? What did I just hear? Like what just happened? And that was in Utica. So like, what's going on? And then to find out who the young man was and to find out that I was just at his graduation because my daughter just graduated with him a few days before, well, the day before that. And then find out they were on the bus together and things like that. It was a lot of anger, but then it was sadness and fear in terms of, like Heather said, thinking about the family, thinking about what they were going through, more so than what we can do to capitalize on the moment, but what can we do to help them in this moment? Because we know as a family member, going through something like this and there being that confusion around what happened, why it happened, how it happened, and not having a full picture of all the information. I think it was tough for a lot of people for a long time, but more specifically for the family members going through that situation. So that's where my mind was.
That's interesting. So you were right there at the graduation. Likewise, myself, my niece graduated that day, and she was actually just one seat away from him. So I have some footage that was supposed to be shown here too, to show him walking across the stage and having his name called. I think that people need to see him in that light as well. Um, so we'll, Javian, welcome. Thank you for coming in this evening, being a part of the panel.
Yeah,
So the
thank
question
you.
I have
Thank you
for
for having
everyone.
me.
Oh, you're welcome. The question that I have for everyone is like, where were you when you found out about this incident, and what were your first reactions, your immediate reactions and thoughts?
hmm Yeah, so hello everyone. JV and Dawson had a little tech issues. Y'all can hear me okay, right? And see me? Everything is good?
Yes.
All right, good, good. So to answer your question, I was actually home. I think I was just waking up, and then laying in bed, pulled up my phone, and I went on Facebook, and I happened to see like the video that somebody had posted. They were sitting on the porch. So the post I seen, and then watching the video, like, and to go back to what Heather was saying, like the why, like I felt like when it happened, it was just like, why was that even necessary? So that was my first initial reaction. And then I was thinking, like, when I found out he was 13, that's the same age as my daughter. She just turned 13. So for me, it was just like, wow, like that's the same age. I could not even imagine waking up in the morning and seeing my child go through something like that and experiencing that. So of course I was thinking about the family and thinking about my family and just the community as well. Cause I'm thinking like, wow, like there's already a mistrust for law enforcement that they've been trying to repair for years, and this is only going to make the situation worse. So those were all the thoughts initially when I seen and heard about the news and stuff like that.
Wow. Javian, I'm it's really interesting that you mentioned that, because monthly there's trust building initiatives being held with community and the Utica Police Department. And the last session that we had, we talked about that with the youth. I was talking to Lieutenant Star Wooden about it. She would have been on this call. However, she didn't receive authorization as yet because they're still under investigation, as well as Kay Clo. She's not feeling well. They were both invited and plan to come. However, they're not here today. But while I was talking to her, I told her that it was ironic that the last time that we had a meeting, which was about less than 2 weeks ago, we talked about that. It was teenagers there, about 15 of them, and it was like a question and answering session. It's like every department head was there. Like they had somebody from the special victims, they had someone from the detective unit, like every unit that they have, the give unit, there's a representative there. There's also social services there from um child protective services. There's also DA representation there. There's like so many different aspects of professionals there, and a lot of teenagers. So when the teenagers were there, where they were really excited to pick their brain, and boy, after one question, they asked so many questions, which led to a conversation about what to do when approached by a police officer.
Mhm.
You know, um, what do you? Okay, let me just let these people to the studio really quickly. Okay. Welcome you all for joining. Um, Shelly, Reverend Hodges, and
I'm
Heather back
sorry.
again. No worries. There's like some technical difficulties going on. But I was just sharing with everyone how we just had a trust building initiative meeting that happens once a month in Cornhill. And ironically enough, the conversation came up on how does teenagers handle, how should they handle police officers if they ask them to stop, or if they're confronted by one, or if they're questioned by one, how to handle. So we thought it was ironic that just days later this incident happened. So Reverend Hodges and Shelley, before we move on, we just wanted to know, where were you? I'm going to start with you, Reverend Hodges. Where were you when you found out about this incident, and what were your immediate thoughts?
Actually, I saw the news, and of course, I was upset by the fact of a 13-year-old being killed. And I saw the video, and I saw the first one that came out, which was kind of blurry, And then I saw the one that the police department put out. And but my thing was, why did they have to shoot to kill? Don't they have tasers? And I know nobody on here can answer these questions for me, but
Well, I can, I think, just
okay,
from the legal standpoint.
okay,
Um, uh, Two things. My ex-husband, my son's father, was a fancy pants white collar attorney, criminal attorney, and then subsequently a judge. And I also went to law school. And police, you don't shoot not to kill. Period. Um, and that's in the training. They're not, they're not Wyatt West. I mean, Wyatt Earp from the Wild Wild West, and you can shoot a silver dollar off somebody's shoulder. If you pull it, then you sadly, but that's the reality. Now, why they pull it is, much more in the reason. But like the military, everybody, I mean, you don't pull it and not shoot to kill. To shoot to wound, that's if you have a long distance and somebody, that's a whole different ball game. But it was in the dark, it was night. They see a flash of a gun. They had probably, I mean, they were going on a call of someone or two people, with a gun. So, I mean, I don't think any of those people woke up in the morning and said, let me go kill, a little boy. And no one knows you're 13 years old. I'm not, and believe me, I am so not law. I mean, I'm law and order, but I am so, the police have big roads of vitriol and hatred for me at times. And then there's just, I mean, I don't know how to categorize this one. I think I hurt like a mother. I hurt like a young man, but I also, I don't know.
Did you see the video, Shelley?
I did.
Okay. Did you see the body cam?
I believe I did. You mean that he had his hands up, or that and then he turned. I just don't think anyone did this with malice and intent. That's, there's a difference, and I'm not saying it's right. That's what I'm saying. I'm hurting on this one, but I just don't believe that they or he or any of them in this particular instance went marauding and we're going to just take out a person of color without the human aspect to it. I mean, I would also like to believe that they're hurting too. I mean, no one. This is not. I mean, there's been ugly situations. Granted, I mean, 19 bullets to Diallo in New York. I mean, there's differences. Freddie. The man that was selling bootleg cigarettes, and they choked him out. I mean, those are intent. They're saying things. I mean, and it takes minutes. Like that's what was so poignant about Floyd was counting down time. I mean, this is not that. This was, and they could be off, but not wrong. There's a difference. You know what I'm saying? Like okay. I don't know on this, but that's
all right. Thank you.
But there is a legal part. They don't, to answer Reverend's question. You don't shoot to, and not in that format. So
I want to go back to Javian's conversation about trust. He mentioned the word trust, and it popped out to me. So I wanted to ask someone who's young. I believe that Aaron is the youngest on this panel. So from the young people's perspective, Aaron, do you feel like this incident tampered with the trust of the police amongst the youth?
I will say that it has, again, based on my perception, just seeing how like people have like responded like publicly and in the community. I know people are putting more scrutiny on the police department to essentially explain like, why did you shoot him? Why did you shoot him when he was already on the ground? And again, when it comes to trust, this doesn't help. This situation doesn't help at all. It will essentially show that it's like, okay, even at someone that young, 13 years old, you could definitely still treat them violently and still potentially kill them too. So there just has to be more like transparency and more explanation as to like, what was this officer like thinking, like what was going through his head when he brought out the gun and shot him when he was already on the ground too. And that's really what needs to get answered here too. And if those kind of questions don't get answered, then this trust is not going to it's not going to get rebuilt itself here. It's going to keep getting strained. It's because people are, again, not getting the answers. They're not getting some clarification here too. And it's really about questioning the procedure that the police is doing too as well. Because when you're like patrolling the streets and you see some kids there and you want to like ask them questions too, it's like, okay, are they going to get out of this alive, or is this going to escalate too? So really, it's if they don't really like explain like their procedures, what was going through their minds doing all this, then it's really not going to help at all. And I know it's based on what I'm seeing, it's really not helping when they're really like scrutinizing them and trying to understand like what's happening here too.
Put your mic on.
Oh, there it is. Thank you, Erin. I was just wondering that because it seems like we got so far at these trust building meetings. We've been doing it for 2.5 years, like 2.5 years now. And I want to say that we were just like turning over to gain the trust of the community because it's filled with community leaders. And there was a lot of people saying, oh, we need more of the community in, but we let the community in. The community was like so hostile or angry. So I felt like maybe the leaders should be the ones in the meeting for now, and then that way they can convey the message to the community. I'm just wondering, do you guys have any practical ideas on how we can build trust between the community and the police? And then after that, I want to go into ways that we can prevent this from happening again, because I feel like this is an opportunity to be a teachable moment. Yes, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I believe that education is a very important piece and factor. Like, just kind of even like, what is an officer? What is like their code of ethic that they follow? Like, even when they do like investigation, like how does the process work? When they're patrolling areas, why are they in high crime areas and versus this? Why are they profiling? Why are they doing all of these things? And really breaking it down and providing that educational resource for the community to understand, like, this is what the line of duty is for the officer. These are the code of ethics. These are the procedures. These are the processes. I believe that would help in a certain way on a practical level. And then obviously just more resources with the officers getting out in the community. But I think a lot of this kind of has to like blow over and it has to be restored first. So I do like the idea of, just kind of like mediators, like leaders, just kind of like being a liaison between the officers and the community before like it's direct officer community again. That's one of the things I think.
Can I just ask a point of information just so that I can cement what everyone's saying with what my facts are based on? They were on a call and or heightened to two young men or two men with guns robbing people. Yes, that's a question.
I think it's still under investigation. They haven't really said anything yet. I mean,
But there
it's
was a
kind of in
call.
there.
There was call. I mean, they didn't just roll up on these two out of just stop and frisk, which you can't do anymore. But I mean, there was a reason that they approached them. Yes, because of a prior call of two individuals dressed the way that they were dressed with handguns and robbing people. So, if that's the basis, that's not, just, young men playing basketball and they rolled up and it turned into something.
I think they're still waiting on
That's
the
what
evidence.
Yes.
They're
Well,
still waiting on the evidence. No one can say anything right now because they're still waiting for the evidence.
well,
That's
that's
true.
Well, the evidence is what transpired from that, but
But the police haven't released it yet.
Well,
But we need
actually,
it released.
well, that was my question too, because normally it's only one policeman in a car, and then they had three people in this situation. That's my question. I want to know what was going on. Why were there three of them?
they were on an active call. I mean, this wasn't and that makes a difference. And that makes a difference.
There wasn't an actual call at that time. There just happened to be a rash of robberies in that community. But that day, that night, he was coming from a barbecue in celebration of his graduation. Apparently, he lived not that far away, just up the block or around the corner. And he was coming back from a backyard barbecue in celebration of his graduation the day before. And checking the logs of Oneida County record, there was actually no call made of a robbery during that time. So it was just robberies going on. So I guess they had their alerts up, their antennas up, looking for suspicious activity, but there wasn't no particular call made that evening for robbery.
Okay. And then one last fact, or something that I'm thinking of as a basis. In the video, it shows a turnaround and what looks like a handgun in a hand. Does anybody else see that or not see that?
I saw it.
Yes.
Okay. So that is not just our regular young men walking home and something goes down. It turned out that it was a play gun, but my God, who's supposed to? How are you going to garner that? So that again, I am so. But sometimes, you're acting like a police officer, and and then they run, and then they turn and show what's visibly seen, and you don't know they're did they know that they? Oh, that's the last question, and then I'm going to listen with a different ear, my same ear, but what I'm trying to just so that we're all feeling the same kind of fact pattern. Did they know he was 13 years old? Because we're leaning heavy that afterwards he was 13. Did they know at the time it was a 13-year-old boy?
I don't think they knew it was a 13-year-old boy. I think that they were just asking him a question. And I also wanted to state that these three officers are also under a different type of investigation because there's footage that they were harassing other people using excessive force. No one got killed in these other incidents, but there is footage circulating online. I'll be happy to share all of the footage that I have with people if you just send me an email that says video and be specific on which video you would like to see. So it would be pureflowradio@gmail.com. That's pureflowradio@gmail.com. I can submit you documentation to prove that there was no 911 call about a robbery. And I can also send you documentation to support these three same officers using excessive force on 3 different incidents just this year. I'll be happy to send that along with the body cam footage to anyone who might want the footage. Miss Edwards, welcome to the platform. And we were just talking about the incident that happened with the young men. Just could you tell me, where were you when you found out about it, and what were your first thoughts?
Well, when I first heard about a shooting, um, I want to say I was at work. Um, I heard briefly about it, but you hear that a lot. You hear that it's been a shooting. You hear that someone's gotten shot. Um, Even recently, we've been hearing a lot about people getting killed. So I'm like, well, probably another, you know, incident with kids on kids, or just the community going after each other. And then when I got home, I slept. The next morning I woke up, I found out that it was a child, and that the child was shot by the Utica police. And I was like, wow, that's unfortunate, because it's been a lot of situations with children, with teenagers, just out reckless, doing reckless things and having reckless behavior. So I still was like, well, it's an unfortunate situation, you know. Then when the video surfaced, which I didn't want to watch it because I don't like to watch stuff like that. So it took me a few days to even open up that video and watch it. My brother-in-law actually put the video in my inbox, and I was like, well, let me just look at it. And when I looked at it, and I'm like, wait a minute, like, this don't seem right. Um, so my initial reaction to that video was like, I think they really messed up with this, because this person is running away. This is somebody's, not the fact that he's a child, it's the fact that he's running away, and you slammed him, and your colleague pushed you to the side, not necessarily pushed, but moved you slightly to the side to take a clear shot at somebody who looks unarmed. That video didn't look like he have a weapon to me, and I've opened it up. I don't know how many times I froze it, I blew it up. I tried to like really be, um, I tried not to take a side on it at first. I'm like, let me just see what happened. Um, but then we got the police version of the video, and it just doesn't look the same. It's so many inconsistencies in their stories. There's so many discrepancies. It's like, I don't know. I'm very much not happy about that.
Wow. So I want to direct this question to Kevin. This is the surrounding the community impact. Have you observed any changes between the community and the police since this incident happened? You yourself. And I'm asking that question because I was another community leader was not able to make the call, but she mentioned to me that a group of kids got maced yesterday. It seems like standard practice, because they weren't moving from the crowd fast enough. So I feel like everyone is at like heightened sensitivity right now, and it obviously impacted the community. So I guess I want your perspective, Kevin, on what changes have you observed in the community relationship between the police since the incident, if you observe any.
Say this is just me, Kevin, speaking, and from what I've experienced in the last week and from the family members that I've spoken to, a lot of people haven't necessarily seen as many police officers as they're used to seeing. Whether it be during the 4th of July celebrations, people are popping off fireworks and things like that, and you would normally see police officers circling around, kind of doing their rotations. No one saw any police officers. And similarly, in different neighborhoods where police would circle around, like there are a few nuisance houses where you would see police officers doing rotations, and they haven't necessarily seen them in the last few days. So I think that may be a factor of, with everything going on, kind of wanting to be more insular. I am not sure about that. That is not my field of practice. But just anecdotally, from my experience and from what my family has seen in the last few days, they haven't necessarily seen the police as much as they're used to seeing them.
Wow. And the other question I have for you, Kevin, is that you were at that graduation. How has your daughter been since then? Has she asked you any other questions? Have you noticed any changes in her behavior?
Not necessarily. So we talked about it a bit. So she knew him, but they weren't necessarily friends. They were kind of in the same spaces. And we talked about sort of the situation, the aspects that we know of the situation, and then the fact that we don't know a lot about it. So not wanting to make up my own story, not letting her make up her own story about what happened, just kind of taking the facts as we get them and talking about them as such. So she's aware of what happened. And she has her own personal feelings about it, but it's more so understanding the overarching context of what's going on.
Yeah.
So we've been working on that part. So she's okay in handling it. It's just a matter of making sure that we understand it as we're handling it.
Okay, thank you, and tell her that we're all thinking about her. So I wanted to talk about the protests. Kevin, I know I saw you the day of the press conference, the very first day. I want to ask, I'm not sure who Mike is the background. I'm just asking if you mute your mic until it's ready to speak, till you're ready to speak, so we can have a smoother dialogue. So when I was out there for the press conference, I was actually in awe and taken back. I was very emotional. And it was a lot of going on. And like a couple of you stated, don't really like to watch videos like that, but I had to watch just so I can get a better understanding of what actually took place. With the protests, anyone can answer this. Do you feel that the protests are making a difference? Why or why not?
I'll answer that question. Actually, I think that the protest is making a bit of a difference. Um, to some degree, in the best interest for the community, but also I feel like the police is kind of like trying to punish us for protesting. So it's like, just like Kevin said, like he haven't really been seeing them around in the area like that. I haven't either. So it's like the problem areas they don't really want to come around because in my opinion, I feel like they feel like, hey, they don't want our help here. They're kind of shunning us. Let them hurt, harm, and kill each other. So, but I do feel like the protests have made a difference in how they view the community now. They see that we're a lot stronger. Like they see that we won't just accept or tolerate behaviors or reckless behaviors by law enforcement. It's supposed to be upstanding the law, not feeling like you're above the law. So I think they do get that we're not, fooling around with this.
Anyone else want to speak to that?
I think one of the most encouraging pieces that I've seen, especially at that protest, is not just how many people came out, but how many different people came out and how many different backgrounds were represented in that protest. Well, not necessarily in the protest, but in the press conference, just to let people know that like we're all in this together. We're all seeing similar issues. We're all seeing the similar effects with our own young folks, and we're all standing together to figure out what happened, but then also to support each other. And that was something that, despite the absolute tragedy that happened, that was one thing that I can say I was in some way encouraged by, just to see everybody start to come together. Unfortunately, it was in this aspect, but it was happening.
Very inspiring, actually. Well, Javian, how about you? Do you think that the protests are making a difference? And then I'll go on to possible tactics or techniques that can be used to avoid a situation like this again.
Yeah, for sure. So I truly believe that the protest, in terms of like getting people together, like as Kevin mentioned, there's a lot of diversity in the crowd and the audience. And also, like, I wasn't directly at the protest, but I was at the 4th of July celebration that they had on James Street. And to me, I felt like that was somewhat of a protest as well. Like it was making a big statement. Like I viewed it as the community just kind of like really taking action and them saying that, listen, we are going to give what we want in our community. We don't need the city to provide us fireworks. It's almost like they have a distrust for leadership now. And now it's just like they're becoming the leaders to be like, this is what we need. We can have a great time without any drama. We could band together and really do it. There was like literally no fight, no drama, and you had people all up and down James Street, and they were shooting off the fireworks in the middle of the street. The cops didn't come to shut it down and none of that stuff. As I was driving away to go back home, I did notice there was an officer at the bottom of Cornhill. I think it was like closer to like South Street. They were parked on one of, I think, like Dudley Ave or something, actually by Eagle Street. So they were kind of there, but they weren't there. Like they were just on the outskirts, just in case something did kind of pop off or whatever. So I just noticed that, again, like I feel it did make us a lot stronger, you know, and it's unfortunate that it's a tragedy to be the reason for it. But I do feel like there was a big statement made, and I do believe that if we continue with this momentum, I mean, I seen democracy. You know, I seen true democratic action take place. Like, and to be honest, I love it. I love seeing people work together like that.
Very good. And I wanted to touch on a broader context here. How do any of you see this incident fitting into a larger national conversation about police violence and reform? Let me go with you, Heather.
Can you repeat that one more time for me, please? I'm
Do
sorry.
you see this incident fitting into a larger national conversation about police violence and reform?
Oh, geez. It's so much a hard one for me to answer. I want to take it down a step just to our state level. I feel like I want to take it way down to where we are right now, more than the state level. I think it's always something that's going to be worked on, but it depends on the state. I think we need to look at what we can control here and what we can do here right now. And that is probably more of finding ways to build trust with our police department and having through programs and things of that nature. I think I'm going off a little bit because I'm not quite sure ready how to answer that. But I do feel on a local level, we need to develop more programs within the city that will gain relationships between the police department and children and neighborhoods. That's something I feel that we really lack here. But on a bigger level, I'm not really sure how to answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll go to someone else because this incident actually made national news.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Okay. So I feel like we've been having these conversations about police brutality nationally. So it's always been at a national level of conversations that we've been having. I feel like on a more broader level, I don't see it being any different than what we've been yelling for Trayvon Martin, for Tamir Rice, and all of the unfortunate situations that has been happening. So in terms of how this specific situation would like kind of fit on like a more broader level of conversation, like I don't know if I'm answering this right, but I feel like we've been talking about police brutality. I feel like we've been being ignored a lot on it. I feel like thank God for technology, because we're able to actually, the world is able to actually see what people have been saying for centuries about officers. And I don't necessarily hate officers. I don't necessarily hate the judicial system. I just feel like it's been very fixed and designed to oppress, people, minorities. And I feel like once they are exposed on the things that they're doing wrong, they try and cover for one another. And I just think it's unfair because this did hit national, but nothing's being done. This has been an ongoing conversation. We've been doing this for far too long.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Can I jump in on that one too?
Absolutely.
So I definitely agree on both sides. Like, we have been having these conversations nationally, and it has been an issue for a long time. Even given the video social media era, when we've been seeing it. But then also, like Heather was saying, sort of where my mind has been is like, locally, what can we do about the situation? Because nationally, we can't control what the United States does, but locally, we have a say. So what are those things that we can start to see? And like programmatically, we see the police officers have been trying, like Javen was saying, in terms of like the shop with the cop initiatives, the showing up at community events, giving away free hot dogs and stuff like that. Like we see them trying, but at a certain aspect, we have to find a way to get more children to see, not more children, but more people to see police officers as people, and the police officers to see the neighborhoods that they're policing as people, and not just a job where they have to show up and do their thing. Because there's a lot of instances where the first time that the police officers are interacting with the people in the neighborhood is absolutely negative, and vice versa. So there's going to be that negative feeling of when the police show up, it's going to be something bad because that's the only time we see them. So how are there other ways that we can get more people involved in building those relationships? The trust is going to come, but the relationships have to start first, to be able to see each other as people and not just, oh, those are the folks in the uniform and those are the people that I'm paid to police.
I'm sorry, can I just be completely honest? That attempt to do that interaction with the police and the children and the community, I'm sorry, I just have to be honest. If I'm going to sit on here and talk, I have to be very blunt with it. That was a cheap way to try and make it seem like, oh, all cops are not bad cops, when I just don't feel it was genuine. You know, I feel like the wound is a fresh wound, and for you to try and put together an event when the family is mourning, when the community is already like confused, and you know we're still not getting any answer. It's like you're trying to sweep it up underneath the rug, and then you're coming with this solution to come and talk with the police so that we can basically tell you or scold you on how you need to deal with with the police officers. It's
Oh no,
a two-way. No. I get what you're saying.
Oh no, I was just saying
I
like
get what you're saying.
before everything happened. I
No,
didn't know they did
I'm
anything
not.
since.
I'm not taking any stabs at you because you're
Oh
absolutely
no.
right. I'm just saying when you said that, it just something with that just didn't sit well with me with the event that they put together. And I'm not saying it was a bad idea. It was a great idea. They should have been doing this, and they should be trying to they need to try to figure out what they're going to do with these police officers that they're paying to sit home on a paid vacation. And then we can try to start healing. Like you can't try and make people just heal fast or just forget about it fast. This is a fresh wound. You're pouring salt on a fresh wound when you're telling them to come here so we can tell you how to talk to us. It's a two-way street. You got to learn how to communicate effectively with the kids. And Sparkle, I heard you earlier when I first jumped in, was talking about if they knew it was a child or not. When they initially sat and pulled that and pulled those children over and started opening their mouths to talk to them, and those kids started talking back, you knew it was a child. Whether you knew that child was 13 or not, probably not, but you knew that was a baby.
Can I just say one thing too to feed off all of this? I do think that we need to work on having our police represent the diversity of our city. I think that's huge. I think that hiring within our city for people who come from neighborhoods who understand is really important. I just want to leave it at that, but I think that we need a department that represents our city too, as well, the diversity of it.
I said the same thing. I said, if you're going to come to the communities and police in the communities, maybe it's not a good idea to come and police outside the community that you're used to, because I don't know. Like I went to the protest that night and I screamed at, some of them, but then I had to think about it. Like, maybe I'm being a little bit too aggressive to these people who they didn't do it. They just represent this police department. I spoke to, and not to single him out, but the only officer that was willing to come over and have a conversation was, unfortunately, the black cop, Mr. Jackson. He stepped aside and said, hey, this is a very unfortunate situation. We know everybody emotions are, all over the place. We need to figure out. We need to figure this out. We need to let the police try and figure out what they're gonna do in the meantime. Like he made sense to me. He calmed me down. So, but he comes from the same community I come from. So I'm not saying that it makes it like I'm not saying that you can't go into other areas and police, but if you're going to have a biased type of opinion or a biased type of way towards other communities, you should not police them. Because the kids we as the community members need to be familiar enough with what our police officers. That one officer who pulled me to the side, that little boy was in his boxing program. My son was in that boxing program with that young boy that passed away. Do you think if that officer would have pulled over that kid that it would have went that way? No. You know why? He know that kid and that kid knows him. So he would have trusted him enough to be like, listen, I got my pellet gun on me. I guess legal or whatever, but I don't think it would have went that way. I just think that they would have had a rapport. So they need to learn how to start having rapports with the people in the community before you can police in this community. Because you've been very aggressive to a lot of people lately.
Yeah. And thank you for that comment. That was I really appreciate that. And to spin off what you said, that was actually something that was brought up in the Trust Building Initiative. Also, Chris attends those meetings. Welcome, Chris.
How you doing?
I pleaded with them. I said, it is very important that the officers work here, live here. And I got into a little bit of a debate with one of the officers who said, no, we can't live here because I got into a situation where my family life was in danger and my life was in danger. And I'm like, okay, but at the same time, our lives are also in danger. We still have to live here. I just think that the community should serve the community in which you live. But they explained to me that there is a shortness of staff, so they had to put out a waiver to excuse people to come from other areas to police here because they weren't having a lot of people, I guess, knocking down the door to apply for the position or people who necessarily qualified for the position.
Do you see how much they make?
Oh, no, I don't know how much they make.
They make about $800 a week. Who's gonna be knocking down the door to come and put their lives on the line to go and police and police there? Not to bring their wages into this, but like I don't even knock down on certain nursing doors to go take care of residents or people there because of the wages. Like they got to do something with how they're paying people. These cops make like $45,000 or $50,000 a year. Like that's they almost $30 an hour they're making to go put their life on the line. I wouldn't be banging down their doors neither. It's just like yeah.
Pardon my imposition, right? Pardon me imposing on that question, right? They make less money in the military, and yet we all everyone is advocating going to the military. All right. I'm sorry I came in late. My tablet was giving me a little bit of problems. Anyway, what bit I've heard is it's like everyone is looking for an ideal utopia. Everybody wants what they want. Okay. But one of the things that is most important, in my opinion, we have trust building with the police department on for the last two years. We have trust building the last Thursday of every month, and I hardly see any of the community, especially as many people as was out there protesting. No justice, no peace. What kind of justice have we ever gotten without involvement? Without involvement or a voice in our community? Can somebody explain that?
I can't explain it, but what I can say is I don't think a lot of people want to come to those meetings because one, they don't trust them. I wouldn't want to sit in the face of somebody that I don't trust.
Well,
You got to demonstrate. You have to demonstrate, being a person who understands the law out here in the areas before you offer someone to come into your space and build trust with you there. You need to build trust in these communities with these people and have them trust you enough to come in there and say, let me stop and talk to
okay,
you for a while.
okay. So let me address that. We have meetings at a few churches, and uh, we hardly see anybody come there. We have Spanish people coming. We have Caucasian people coming. We don't see any Asian people, and we hardly see any of the community. And the police are not there. We put out notices and so forth, and the community refuses to attend. How can we get any kind of unity when we hardly know each other? Are
Probably with the
willing
church.
to are willing to sit in the at the table and try to find out each other's interest. How can we get any justice or any peace like that?
So I guess my next question would be, how do we build that trust, right? I feel like Miss Edwards, you can answer this, but I want someone else to answer this. What steps can we take as a community to better work together to build that trusting environment that you said that we don't have, Miss Edwards? How do you pronounce your first name?
Shatasia.
Shatasia. Happy belated birthday, Shatasia.
Thank
So
you.
you're welcome.
Happy birthday.
How Reverend Hodges, how can we what can be our first step into building this trust between police and community?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer because I attend a lot of the community meetings, and it's true that um, people don't come. People are so discouraged, and as you say, people don't trust. So the first thing will be to try to build that trust, and it's not going to be easy because people are hurting. They were hurting long before this incident.
Long before,
Hmm.
long before that. But yet, how does one initiate trust? You have to take a chance.
Engagement.
That's right.
Hmm.
What type of engagement, Aaron, do you think young people might be interested in, as far as community engagement? Because how a police officer might engage with one of us who is, I believe, 25 or 30 and over, what might be different for how they engage with somebody who's 25 and under. From your perspective, being of the younger population, what do you think your peers might appreciate is the first step to help build trust in our community?
Well, there's a few things that I'm thinking about here too. So I would say that the police department needs to have some self-reflection on how they conduct themselves around people, and not just wait until an investigation is over. Of course, it's being done by the state attorney general's office, but I'm thinking that like let's not wait until that's over. I would say that the police need to self-reflect on how they're displaying themselves around people. Like, are they acting respectfully around people? Are they being too rough around people? They have to really assess their own behaviors too. They have to do that self-reflection themselves and not have to wait until an official investigation is finished yet, because that will take a long time too. we would also need to, like, going to Javion's point when he made education too. So I would just say that we need to, like, educate, like, the community members on how to interact with the police department so that they could go home as quickly and as safely as possible too, especially when it comes to being as predictable as you can with them, because you don't want to give the impression that you are a threat to them. You don't want to, like, run away all of a sudden and then tensions start building up here too. You want to make sure that you're, like, following their instructions so that everyone stays calm and you're not pulling something out of your pocket that could be seen as suspicious too, especially at nighttime too as well. Because again, this is about making sure that you're staying safe and that you're not giving any bad impressions about yourself too. And another thing too is just evaluating, like, the laws and the rules that would allow this behavior to happen by the police too as well. Like, what laws allow the police officer to shoot someone if they're already tackled to the ground too. Like, we would have to evaluate if this is, like, a local law or state law or federal law or some administrative rule too. And once we, like, identified, like, rules like that, then we could, like, figure out, like, okay, this is who we have to go to demand change. Like, we would have to go to this political leader to change this rule here. So it's really, like, educating ourselves on who's in charge of putting these laws and rules into place here too. So that's, like, really what I'm just thinking about here too, is just really, like, educating ourselves really on what allows the police officers to conduct themselves around people in a certain way too. And if we have to, like, look at the laws that would unfairly benefit and unfairly harm certain individuals here and addressing those too. So it's really those things here.
Yes, education is key. And before we end this call, we're going to suggest a tip to make sure that we have left a nugget of education for whoever's watching here. The question that I have now is, has anyone on this call ever been stopped and frisked by the police?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Please, I want to hear more about that.
Well, I've been stopped for speeding, lights out on my car. I think how you treat the police is going to tell the outcome of the stop. You know, first of all, I always show my hands. I show my hands because I know he's scared. I know the cop is scared. Just because he's got a gun and bulletproof vest and all that stuff, he's still scared. All right. And in the times that we live in, things are unpredictable. But you can offset his fear by trying to comply. All right. Show your hands. You know, be congenial. All right. Be congenial with the officer, because you don't want to get a ticket, or at least I didn't want to get a ticket. And in both those incidents, or two incidents, I didn't get a ticket. I got a warning. And, you know, we ended up parting our ways with a smile. So sometimes you run into a good officer, sometimes you run into not so good officers. I mean, you right on the street, right around you, man. You run into people who you like and people who you don't like. Okay, and you deal with that. But you don't deal with it in a hostile fashion. Okay, if you don't get hostile and all belligerent, like I know my rights and all that kind of stuff, right? The outcome of your stop or the encounter could come out in a, you know, non-lethal way, or in a way where you just get a ticket and you be on your way. The police that we're dealing with are not, I'm trying to search for the right word. Most of them have never dealt with different ethnic groups on a continuous basis. Okay, the young lady said something about we should have cops from our neighborhoods and so forth, right? But how many? We got a neighborhood, man, that's mixed up with with a lot of hostility, a lot of miseducation, and a lot is uneducated. Okay, and we're trying to break that cycle, turn the page on that. I'm not advocating for the police. But what I am advocating for is that more people in the community get involved.
Yes. Yes.
All right? That is more important than anything else right now. Because the more of us get involved, maybe we'll get some people to register to vote. We need voters. All right. We're over policed because we don't vote. There's a lot of things that happen in our community because we've become indifferent. Okay. And if we start to take a look at our civic duty, whether you like it or not, if you don't get involved, if you don't say nothing, a closed mouth will not get fed. That's the truth.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. When I was running for city council, it was very discouraging on a lack of involvement. Yeah.
We have people who care. But instead of, you know, how do you earn trust? Or how do you learn to trust somebody or trust the system? If you don't take a chance and put your time in, how are you going to do it? You can't do it. You can't look around the corner and say, well, I know what's happening there, if you don't go in or if you don't turn that corner. Okay? If you need some money, if you need some help, I bet you go find some help. We seem to have so much indifference. People talk about fear. Okay, but we have a lot of indifference in our community. Nobody wants to be known as somebody who's doing the right thing. People run headlong into the wrong thing and duck their head in the sand for the right thing.
Mm.
That's the truth.
Keisha Daniel says we need to show more outlets to input, care, and concern throughout the community. We need to show more outlets to input, care, and concerns throughout the community. And Pam Howe says 100%. The city of Utica has always been the good old boys club in all aspects of offices. So, Shatasia, I believe you said yes when I asked, have you ever been stopped or encountered an officer? Could you please?
Yeah, I was stopped and frisked. I was stopped and frisked while I was pregnant, actually. Um, leaving from, sorry, that's my dog barking. Leaving from a friend's house. I got a black car. Another car in front of me was a black car. So leaving from my friend's house, I get inside my car. The other car in front of me pulled off too. As I pulled off, as soon as I got to the corner of, where was I? Oswego and that store, but right before Genesee Street. So, is that Francis?
Yes.
Yeah, Oswego and Francis. So I got pulled over there and told to get out the car. I complied. I got out the car because, I don't have anything to hide. And I got patted down because they said I was leaving a weed spot. And I seen you go inside of a weed spot and purchase marijuana. First of all, stop and frisking is totally illegal in our state, but they do it. Um, did I know my rights? Absolutely, I knew my rights. Did I speak up about it? Absolutely, I did. Was I a little hostile? Absolutely, because you are profiling me and you're telling me that I'm doing something that I'm not doing. You could have easily asked me, "Hey, do you know where are you coming from?" And you could have. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. So when you come at me aggressively, I'm gonna be just as equally aggressive. I'm gonna match your energy because respect goes both ways. You have to give it to receive it. A lot of the times we're saying like just let the cops do what they have to do and just walk away and be safe. And I understand it, and I wholeheartedly agree with that to a degree. But in the same token, how can you tell people to just sit and accept them violating your human rights and your constitutional rights and being okay with that, just so that you can have, just so that you can go home safe? I'm not saying, battle back and forth with the cops, but definitely hold them accountable, and they need to be held accountable. And you're supposed to be a representation of the community, and you want this community to be a great community. How can you be so corrupt in your profession, but you expect everybody else to just be perfect for you because you're scared? Well, why would you pick one of the bravest jobs you have to be? You have to be brave to have certain type of jobs. You have to have a certain skill, a certain mindset, a certain level of education. You have to pass, these tests that they give you, assessments and things like that. And when you're failing these things and you're still being put out on the field, or you're aggressive in tone with everybody you encounter, you don't seem like you're that scared to me. You seem like you're looking for a problem. And I'm
Well,
not the only one who's been stopped and frisked. I know a lot of people who's just been stopped and frisked. And you know what they do? They turn the cheek to it. And they do exactly what people expect them to do. Be quiet about it so that they can make it home safe. Well, why do you think the cops are still doing it? Because they're not being held accountable.
That's right. But you what's at your you have the liberty to file a lawsuit also. I think
Amen.
if enough people if enough people start filing lawsuits, they'll change their policy. They'll tweak it a little bit, okay? Because the best way to to correct anything is hit them in the pockets. I learned that a long time ago.
I agree. I'm the same way with that. It's just sad that you expect you got to train a community on how to act. What hot-headed police officers at that? And I'm not talking about all of them. I'm talking about them specific ones. You got to be
Yeah,
trained on how you have to act around these people. Allow them to violate you. Allow them to straight disregard your human rights so that you can make it home safe. That mindset that we have, that mindset to just allow certain things don't sit right with me. It don't. And that's
Yeah. Okay. So,
well, can I
quite
say something?
absolutely, Aaron.
Yeah, and this is like what we just said, like filing the lawsuit or filing a complaint. That's a reason why we want to make sure that you get out of that situation alive. Because if your civil rights were violated by a police officer, then we want to make that known to everybody. We want to make that known by filing a complaint, filing a lawsuit, and and then protesting, just saying, yeah, my my civil rights were violated here, and here's why. We have to make that known to people too. And the thing is, and one thing to also keep in mind is, if you do like run away or try to like be very aggressive against a police officer, then that could be additional charges on yourself. Like you could be charged with resisting arrest, you could be charged with assaulting a police officer, and that could be a problem for yourself too, because then it might be hard to fight against your case that you're trying to make against a police officer, because now it's like, oh well, you were running away, you were resisting arrest, then you got into a fight with the police officer. Like that's one thing to keep in mind. That's why we always say, like, you have to be calm, you have to be cool, you have to really just make sure that you just don't escalate things to something that they can use against you too. That's one thing to like keep in mind too as well, so that you can be alive to make that case against the police department.
In I'd like to say in my community, or world of growing up, and I have one son, Hunter, who's now in his 30s, but there's the talk, I mean, it is literally called the talk. And you tell your child that if they're walking and they're with friends, or the police roll up or something goes down, it's yes sir, no sir, and fight it later. you know, not saying that they're right. The police are right. Not saying that you're wrong, but everything has to be factually, not factually. I'm not Pollyanna. I don't mean it that way, but Aaron, you said like running away. If you were, please, that's there's no leniency on that for nobody. I mean, that's not the short end of it. That's, you know, that's catastrophic to you know, get belligerent. That's catastrophic. There's not a reason, even on a stop. Another piece, it's about $39, a dash cam. You know, you can use it so it's facing out. But you know what? When if anything ever gets, you know, pulled over, your window goes down, both of them, your hands go at 10 and 2, and that dash cam gets turned. And the first thing out of your mouth before they say anything, it's, excuse me, officer, why am I pulled over? You want it on record so that later on, if they see something or smell something, and then they now say that that was the reason, but make them declare up front, what was the reason that you pulled me over on record? And if you don't have a dash cam, you do it with your cell phone. Most folks have cell phones. As you're being pulled, because, you know, you got to pull over, you got to, you know, get control of the car. While you're doing that, your hand, again, if you do not have a dash cam, is get your cell phone, put it on top of the dash. It may not be getting the visual, but it's getting the audio. And again, the first thing that you're asking is, excuse me, officer, why was I pulled over? And let them go on. They saw a tailgate, you ran a stop sign, whatever it is. So later on, they're not, if it goes sideways, they haven't found some other probable cause that gets lost in the whole thing gets lost as to why they pulled you over. But with our young people, with, you know, I have a couple of cousins, one in particular in Syracuse, that state trooper that commanded this area is called Barracks D. And we're there, we're at the table. You know, I live in Rome. And when I see something out of line, I go to the city council meeting and I give rite and ritual of what I see. And not with me, but I mean, we are also advocates. It doesn't have to just be you. You can see something that's wrong, and you don't have to get yourself fully involved, but you get enough that you can, you know, take the license plate down. You can write down to yourself what you think that was wrong, and you go and you can make agency yourself. You can call the police chief. You can go to the city council meeting. I mean, we do enough pokes at these people. They don't know who's ever watching. It doesn't have to go to the full tilt all the time. I mean, that's where also community policing, in a sense, our policing back. You know, I'm not a po-po lover. Believe that. But we also have to take some responsibility of some of our actions and not just grandize those and keep those rolling like it's right, and that we have no onus of responsibility on some things. And so we have our own personal kitchen talk. You know, there's a thing called Black People with Our Kitchen Talk. We have to be able to tell each other, oh, you know, pull each other's coattails, because not everything we do is correct. So,
can I just go off one thing you said, Shelley? And that is, you say how you have your talk with your kids. Great. And a lot of people should. However, in this case, we have a lot of refugees who come from other countries whose laws are different. And when they see police or authority, they're not quite sure how they're supposed to act. And for them to have that conversation with their kid, they know what they know from when they came over from other countries. So I think it's really important, like as easy as it is to say that you should talk to your kid and tell them what to do. There needs to be more education that's brought into these refugee centers that talk to the parents, that to talk to
Absolutely.
the
I
kids.
meant community talk. I wasn't talking just, I was giving personal, but
Yeah,
community
but I
to
just,
Washington, D.C., and, you know, with a major African-American community and in New York. And so, but it's the same talk. That's what I'm saying. We have a responsibility to extend some of the, extend into our communities the talk. It's not just, you know, a personal one-on-one. It's community talk of how to purport ourselves, how to act, and then and then what our uh, how we can spank them. You know, you can't just get a lawsuit. I mean, a lawsuit is easy to say, but you know, attorneys take things on pro bono. That means if there's enough solid for them to wrap their arms around, or you have to be able to come up with a retainer. As you know, you just want to be a civil spanker, you've got to be able to come up with, you know, $10,000-$15,000 to retain an attorney, that because you're paying them, because they're not seeing enough to make it as a true civil rights violation. And civil rights violations are really difficult. You have to file for them. I mean, that one's not an easy one.
Miss Shelley, if I can interject just a little bit, right? Not only should we know our rights, right, but we should also know our alternatives.
Sure.
Okay, we should learn some alternatives. All
Yeah.
right. Now, when it comes to the police officers, right, they're not as intelligent as they as we would think they should be. Many of them are biased, okay, but they have the power.
To a certain
What is all?
extent, the district attorney, the police
Excuse me, excuse me,
stop you, and the way
excuse
they
me.
write things up, that
Well,
is the
ma'am,
district, it
I'm
takes a
getting to
district
that.
attorney to charge you, and that's
I'm
where
getting
we
to that.
interject too with these people.
When you resist, they will tailor the charge to fit the crime,
But
or
you
they will
resisted.
tailor what they're saying. They'll tailor their charge so that you'll get you'll get a fine or jail time or probation or what have you. All right, and many of these cops don't have nothing more than a high school education. Many
A
of
lot
them.
of a lot of the times you don't even have to resist. You can simply ask them, "What are you being, detained for?" And they consider that resisting. So a lot
They're
of the
what
times they're making up
But we
charges as
just
they're
escaping.
going.
Okay.
That's their bias. That's their bias. All right. But we have to learn some alternatives. All right.
We
We
as
have to
adults
learn
know
some
that.
alternatives.
We as
All right.
adults, we know how to handle police officers. Most of us do. But for children, at what age do we start having this conversation with our children, saying, "Hey, if a police stop you, I know you might be scared, but just stand there." Most of the times when kids are scared, they act off of impulse immediately. So they're not thinking, yeah, yeah, your mother might have instilled something in you. But when you're in that moment and you got three adults coming at you at one time and one of their guns was already drawn, you're scared. So what do we tell them?
Man, that was a tragedy.
I
That
know.
was a simple tragedy. Okay. I mean, and to all and for everybody who's seen that clip or seen that film, it was wrong. All right. Unforgivable. Totally. All right. But the people who have the power, they can watch a movie clip, all right, and see something different from what you see. Then turn around and tell you something else. Like, don't believe your own eyes.
Yeah,
This
pretty
is where the
much.
trust, this is where the distrust comes from.
That's why
Okay?
the community is not pouring out to these events and
The
into
the
the
the,
churches
the
and to the city
community,
councils, because why am I going
the,
somewheres with people that I don't trust? Again,
so what you do, you just shut down.
a
Are we
lot of the times they
is
do.
the
I'm not gonna
community?
say me because I'm
They
always
have shut down.
out
They
there.
have shut down because out of all those people that I've seen, I don't see a fraction coming out and trying to get involved. I don't see a fraction, but let something happen. Our kids, the youth, the black youth, all right, when they're killing each other and street team, ICANN, Snugs is out there making noise,
Yep.
protesting. Utica, where are you? Utica, where are you?
Yep.
Utica's in the house, in the warm house, watching TV, watching some kind of violent movie.
Or
But they
just
don't come
simply
out and
not
say
caring about it
nothing.
because it didn't directly affect them. That's the problem. They don't get
That's the
involved
whole
until it
problem. Now
directly affects them.
let something free happen. Let something free happen, and everybody shows up. Where's mine? That's the problem with our community.
Agreed.
I'm
So,
telling the truth. That's the problem with our community. They don't show up when they need to show up.
so guess what? I found the videos. I clipped the videos, and now they're here. I finally figured it out while we were talking. But first, I want us to talk about each of us. I want us to give a tip. I'm going to start with you, Aaron. I think you already said it, but I want like you to rehash it. What should we do? One simple tip: what not to do when we are confronted by a police officer.
Be calm and cool. If they ask you a question or however they interact with you, just be straightforward. Say yes, no, I don't know, or I don't want to answer your questions. If you're like being interrogated, then I don't want to answer your questions. I want to speak to a lawyer. I want to speak to my family. Just keep the answers short and sweet. And of course, show your hands. Be predictable with what you're doing. If you're going to do something, say it first and then do it, unless the police officer says otherwise. And if the police officer is doing something to you, verbally say that. Say that you don't consent to what's going on. Don't have any physical altercation. Just don't run away. Don't show anything. Don't pull any objects out of your pockets, especially at night, because it can get mistaken for a weapon. Just be calm and cool as much as possible so that you don't put yourself into a situation that you don't want to be put into, and you don't want to get charged with something that you shouldn't be getting charged for, I should say. So it's just be calm and cool is what I would say.
What I got from you. Heather, one piece of advice we would like to leave with the youth this evening on what not to do when confronted by a police officer.
You always have the right to remain silent and ask for a lawyer.
That's right.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to stay.
Silent.
Yeah.
Okay. Kevin?
I would say ditto what Heather and Aaron said. Don't speak unless spoken to. Keep your answers short and sweet, and be as transparent as you can about what you're doing. So if I'm going to reach for my wallet, I'll say I'm about to reach for my wallet. Is that okay? Just to kind of remain transparent about the interaction to try to make it home. That's the biggest piece.
There you go. Javian. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, so definitely adding on to what everyone else said. I mean, I told my daughter, basically, I teach her, like, if a cop does stop you, just comply, be respectful, comply. And that's the biggest tip that I have for her. Like, don't try to run away. Don't try to, do any fidgety movements or anything like that. Don't look nervous and try to, disrespect them in any way. Just be respectful and comply, and that's what I teach her.
Yeah. Reverend Hodges.
Stay calm, be respectable, and don't run.
Don't run. Shelley.
Ditto to almost to everything that everyone has said. But most of the interactions with police officers is usually a traffic stop, and usually you're in a car. They hence stopping you. Turn your car off. Make sure the windows are down, your hands are at 10 and 2. And again, almost everyone carries a cell phone with them. Just put it on record. Again, the visual is not the most important thing, so you do not have to hold that black phone in your hand. You can put it on the dash. You ask first off why you've been stopped. In any of the cases, you ask why you've been stopped. And if you are driving and you don't feel like it's a safe, dark, I mean, you know, it you're being pulled over and it's you're not sure how it's going to come off because you don't believe that you've done anything, then you can drive to the police station. They're not going to shoot you while you drive. So you can drive to try to get to a safe space if that ever happens. You know, that's a far-flung one too. But if you're on a dark street and the street light's not right there and there's just that little gap of darkness, you can control that situation as to where you actually get encountered. But again, you've got your phone on tape and you're saying that to yourself. And then if it should get twisted and go, you know, not right, you got a you got a ticket or there's a nastiness to it, a nastiness element. Again, don't do that in the darkness with just talking to each other and screaming with each other. Make a complaint. Put everything that you can possibly do on record, a letter to the editor, the city council, and you'll start teaching and people start seeing that and they will start doing it. And that can be its own piece. And in all our regard about, we're talking about the police officers. The police do what they do, but it's the DA that charges. And that's some conversations we should be having as community as well.
Yes. I
If
didn't
they
that the DA actually, they said that it's still under investigation, so they can't.
No, this particular instance, we're talking broad general now for all of us, and in a teaching to our communities that everyone thinks the police have the power. It's the district attorney that has the power. That's the charging element. They can bring you in if there's no charge, and if it turns out that they've arrested you unlawfully, that is where you make your civil rights complaints, and that can be, you know, again between the district attorney and what an unlawful stop. So, you know, we can start to chip away by telling to the public, not in a grand, you know, it doesn't have to be a big one, but nipping at them.
So I just wanted to challenge something that you said about driving away from them. And I wouldn't recommend that in our society for us because that can turn into another charge.
Again, if you have a cell phone, that's why I specifically said if you have a cell phone, and the other charge is only, I mean, it's a charge later, but you're alive, and there are people that can see what's going on. There's the rub. You know, if it's you know, there's some dark streets that, you know, for little pockets that don't have any witnesses and no people, and you're not feeling safe. They are not going to shoot you while you're driving, especially if you're just regularly driving, and you can put your flashers on. Put your flashers on and just keep until you're just trying to get to what you're thinking you didn't feel safe at that particular juncture. I'm not saying, you know, drive to San Diego, but just, again, you want to be alive at the end of all of this and safe. That's all. I'm not, you know, these aren't radical, you know, get crazy and floor it. Put your blinkers on, you know, your emergency blinkers, so that, you know, you have stated to them that they're on, you know, their cars are all cammed up. They have body cam. So that's why when you're initially saying, well, officer, it's not just your taping, but you're putting it on record for theirs. So, you know, we do have some power. And again, if we all start doing it, it gets read. It's the same read too. So I'm not trying to, you know, I didn't say run. That wasn't the purpose. I'm saying there are little gulfs every once in a while where I wouldn't stop for anybody.
All right.
Sometimes that's where they choose to pull you in these little cuts.
Gotcha. Shelly, excuse me. Thank you, Shelly. Shatasia, a piece of advice that you would leave for our youth on what not to do when they're.
Yeah, I agree with mostly what everyone here has been saying, but I want to directly tell the youth, that especially the underage youth, if you are being stopped by an officer, um, definitely be calm, definitely um, get familiar with the laws, um, definitely ask for your parent. You, like they say, you have the right to remain silent. I do not wish to answer any of your questions. Can you please call my mom? I'm underage. And
Mm-hmm.
just understand that just understand that a lot of the laws and a lot of the programs out here that's designed for you, um, there's always someone you can talk to ask, questions, or to tell situations that happen. Um, my biggest one is just definitely ask for your parent. If you're underage, ask for your parent. Ask them to find an adult.
Thank you. And last but not least, Chris.
I agree with everybody. One thing I want to say is that that's of importance. When the cops stop you, treat that cop like you want to be treated. Maybe you walk away without any hostilities. Kids should be our kids. We should check ourselves, or the kids should check themselves before they leave the house and while they're going down the street, because they're being watched everywhere. All right, they're checking them everywhere, and they should watch what they're doing, because they just, some of these cops just need a pretense to stop you, and
Mhm.
they'll do it. But most of all, right, don't get all huffed up and puffed up like you're going to do something, because you could lose your life. Running is a sign of guilt in the eyes of the police. So don't run. It's real simple. But everybody has some good input. I would say, just treat people the way you want to be treated. You know, that's
Okay.
all I got.
Thank you. And I'm just gonna pretty much say the last thing you want to do is run. That is the last thing you want to do, because even if you're going to jail, you will have your life. But running and then carrying something that appears to be something that you're pointing or anything of that, they're going to see that as a threat in this realm that we live in. Do not run, stand your ground. Even if you don't run and just be quiet and they do whatever, but at least you're alive to tell your story. And so I just wanted to talk about Keisha Daniel, who's watching from YouTube. He says, I feel that the officer at hand didn't evaluate the situation calmly and lost all values needed for movement, losing all responsibilities at his beckoning knees and counting all and costing all to shout and cry. Okay, losing all responsibilities at his beckoning knees and costing all to shout and cry. And then 666 says, nicely said. And Pam Helm says, thank you, Sparkle, for always advocating for the youth. So I have the video, and I don't know if you all would like to stay on the call while I show the video. I do want to show the video of him graduating first. I was there at his graduation because my niece graduated with him, and Kevin, you were there as well. I wanted to show this gentleman, and right after that, I would like to show the camera angles that I have. Um, so I just want to warn everybody and give everybody a disclaimer that the cameras, the body cam videos that I'm about to show might be a little disturbing the language, the screaming, the actually hearing the shot. So if anyone is sensitive to watching this video or don't want to see it, this is the time to exit. And whoever is left on the panel, if you are free to stay, because I don't want to hold you beyond your time of allowance, we can talk about it briefly again. And that's because one of the people who are listening, Keisha Daniel, who's listening and watching from YouTube, I want to be able to talk to her comment. So whoever has to leave, you're free to leave. Whoever wants to stay, you're free to stay. But remember, this is Reality Speaks TV, real people, real talk, in real time. And the first video I'm going to show is from the graduation on June 27th. So Na Wei was actually in the white button-down shirt. If anyone saw, so my niece was there and one in between, and he had the white button-down shirt, the same shirt that everyone's posting with him holding up the certificate. It's a short clip, so I'm going to show it again. But I just want to show, just show a different side of this young man who lost his after graduation.
So just pat you down and make sure you got no weapons on you. Stop reaching! Stop reaching! Fucking drop it! Drop it! Start us in the ambulance. We got shots fired. Start us in the ambulance. Got shots fired. Let me see. I don't know where the gun went. Give me a light. Get a light. Dude. You need to get a chest seal on that. You need to get a chest seal on it. Gloves. Here. Here. Give me a light. Good. Oh no. It's a 22. I think it's 22. So I just pat you down and make sure you got no weapons on you. Stop reaching! Fucking drop it! Alright, the reason why we're stopping, keep your hands out of your pockets. The reason why we're stopping is you're riding the roadway and you're walking.
Oh shit, I forgot about that.
What do you mean you forgot about that?
Like he was just having fun. Like he was living over there.
Yeah. I just pat you down and make sure you got no weapons on you. One on him! Eastbound! He's racing for his right. Stop reaching! Start
Okay, so we're back. I showed 3 different videos, and Keisha says, disturbing as we view each officer bluntly say, "Why did you shoot?" And Triple Six, there's no reason for a shot being fired. So, from the videos that we just watched, you all, do we have anything else that we would like to add?
I would. I don't see the bystander video up there, which is completely different from the video that's being shown from the body cam. It's it's over editing. It's pauses, it's glitches, it stops. There's no clear shot in that boy's face when he's turned towards the officer to shoot him. But on the bystander video, it's completely day and night. No reaching, no turning back, none of that. So I feel like he's not even getting a fair chance with the video that's like going around because they're not showing the bystanders videos. They're only showing the cop cameras, which is edited.
Okay. Triple Six says that's a heart shot. And while you're saying that, Shataj, I'm looking for the bystander video.
I have it if you want me to send it to you.
Yes, please send it to me so I can play it. And anyone else has anything
Where am
else?
I sending it?
You can send it to my inbox on Facebook Messenger.
The one that you inboxed me from?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll put that right up here.
Okay.
Triple Six actually sent me that video. I'm trying to get it from him too. Anyone else want to say anything while I take a moment?
I think, can I jump in? And this is purely just me, Kevin, speaking out of ignorance. I am not a criminal investigator. I'm not a police officer. So my biggest question since the first time I watched the video was that the only option? Was them pulling out their gun and shooting him the only option? Like, I understand, Mr. Shelley, you were saying earlier that the police officers in the training, if they pull their weapon, it is to use it. So was there pulling their weapon? Was there not a taser option? Was there not a wrestling option? Was pulling that gun and using lethal intent the only option that those officers thought they had in that split-second decision?
Okay.
I'm sorry, you're muted.
Can you hear me?
I gotta leave out of
Yes.
Can
you hear me?
I got the video.
To answer,
I'm listening.
I think that is correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard the officers saying, and again, I'm not a proponent of the officers, just of
Shelly,
what.
excuse me, Shelly. I don't know if it's your phone, but it's like crackling.
I heard it when mine was off and listening to other people, so I don't know.
Okay.
His was crackling. Yeah, I thought it was his too, so it might just be everything. Is it still crackling?
Okay, no, it's not crackling anymore.
The officer before the shot on the was drop it, and then the speak of a gun before, so again, there's a chase, drop it, and from this film, again, I'm only going from this one, and we can discuss the other, but there is a gun in the young man's hand, and one was subsequently found. Was it a true gun? No, but I mean, what what is one to do? I mean, I'm only putting myself not in just in a police officer's line. Another one that I have a real problem with, and dark windows on all 4 glass and the windshield. I would not want to be an officer riding up on a car with this darkened glass that you can't even see in the daytime, let alone at nighttime. I mean, there has to be some compassion on what these, what was going at hand. I mean, I don't think that man was running to kill someone.
Okay, so hold that thought, Shelly.
There was the word, drop it, and gun.
All right, so let's watch the bystanders video.
Geronimo! Geronimo! Run! Careful! Careful! Yo! Careful! You're on camera! Yo! Oh, he's punching! Oh my God! Yo, he just shot him! You shot the man? Oh my God! He just shot him! He just fucking shot him, and he really can't even believe this shit. Yo, really can't.
I mean, two things can be correct at the same time. There's a motion to that. It was from a different vantage, and it began in our sight line after when that young man turned. You're right, the turn, because from that vantage, that was after the turn. And
When did you
Should
see
I
that?
play it again? Should I play it again?
Sure.
Because it was really quick. I want you guys to really take a look at it. Okay.
Geronimo! Geronimo! Run! Careful! Careful! Yo! Careful! You're on camera! Yo! Oh, he's punching! Oh my God! Yo, he just shot him! You shot the man? Oh my God! He just shot him! He just fucking shot him, and he really can't even believe this shit. Yo! Really can't.
So did you notice that he was being punched in the face while he was down?
And it's not shown on the body cam footage. They took that out.
No.
Yeah, they took that out. They took that out.
Yeah, they do. For his
The
So if
cop
they
who did
could
the
edit
shooting,
videos, where they're punching this kid in the face, what makes us think that they can't edit that blurry video with that when you blow up the face, you can't even see a face. It's just blur.
well, that's what I was saying before about what we see and what the way they do things. It'll always come out different. Okay, so
There's another video
and
going around. I don't know if y'all know about it. There's another video where the officer is saying, he's explaining what happened, and he was like, he never once said that the kid pointed a gun at him. He just said he took off running. He said, I saw he had a gun, and then I asked to pat him down because he was acting weird, and he took off running. He said, then I caught up to him, and we were wrestling, and the gun was on the side of him, on the side of both of them, and then Husky came up in one shot. So the gun was out of his hand when the officer shot. So he
but you heard
didn't possess a gun when the second officer got up to him.
the
Never
cop
stated.
saying drop it, drop it, drop it. He didn't even have the gun in his hands when he was saying drop it. That was for our benefit.
Yeah.
Javian, were you saying
Because he
something?
ran up and shot him. It was the excitement of the chase. That's why he shot him. Okay, I'm not no police advocate. Okay, I'm just like everybody else, but that's what it looks like. I think they're gonna have a hard time explaining that one.
Well, the
If the initial
attorney general comes in.
Excuse me,
and
Shelley.
and they have
Excuse me,
forensic
Shelley.
people.
Just for a second, I just want Javian. I feel like he wanted something to say, and then you can say something. I want to hear from people who haven't been as vocal as we have.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, like, I mean, in the video with the bystander, I mean, you see that he was tackled to the ground. You see that he did not have the gun. In the other video, the body cam, like the gun was on the side, like you could see it. So my question was, when he was hitting the boy, did the boy at all reach for the gun to give him an inclination that, oh, we got to shoot him? Like, it just didn't make sense why he was shot. And then when the officer came up to him, it looked like he didn't even like try to like just rectify the situation at all. He just came over and just immediately shot. It wasn't even like he came over and
Hello.
to like, restrain him a little bit. He just came over and just directly shot. So it was interesting to me that that he even did that. Like, I just don't understand why he shot. Like, I'm just trying to figure it out. Like, watching the video, like I watched it so many times, and I still, it just looks like he just came over directly just to shoot. Like, and he wasn't even the one that was more threatened at that time. Like, it was the officer that was tackling him and wrestling with him that if anyone was to shoot, it would have seemed like that would have been the one to shoot. You know what I mean?
I think lucky for us, this is now in the hands of Letitia James, our Attorney General. I mean, she's going to review everything, and it's no longer in our police department's hand. This is now in her hands. She's going to review everything, and it's no longer in our police department.
Aaron, and then we're going to go to Shelley.
No longer in our police department.
I'm hearing an echo. I'm hearing an echo somewhere.
Okay.
Oh, are we good?
Yes, we're good.
Okay, good. Okay, but yeah, just going on with Javian's point, it goes back to the thing that we talked about at the beginning of the podcast. Just that's where the confusion is coming from. Like, what was the purpose of shooting him if it was already on the ground? Like we saw the bystander video, and like he just got to the ground. The police officer tackled him to the ground. Then for some reason even like started punching him. Like, okay, what's that first too? And then started shooting.
What was the point of wrestling him to the ground? What was the point? If you're gonna shoot him, guy came up right up in the middle and shot it, point blank.
Shelley, what were you saying?
Well, I'm saying, aren't we a beautiful people that we can all see something and speak diplomatically of our thoughts? We're not a monolithic people. We don't all come from the same backgrounds and see everything the exact same thing or have the same interpretations. And one thing I can probably say full-throatedly, the police department did not alter the tape. The police officers have no control. It is a feed, and it does not go to one specific. I mean, it goes to an IT department. I mean, no one came in and nefariously is going to change that tape in this level and how it's handed. There's no human touch to that. I mean, to the feed on a film. I mean, you're talking real conspiratorial. I mean, that's heavy level. That's a body cam. The police officer doesn't have any control over it.
What do you
None.
mean?
Sorry?
What do you mean? You said that's like a next level.
They don't go and develop their own. I mean, they don't turn in what they want. You know, like your cell phone right now. If you had a video.
Listen, so my thing is, you're talking about the individual police officer can't control the body.
No, I'm saying system. You're saying I'm just trying to allay people when we get wild and start saying that they've changed the tape or done that. I can
because it doesn't make sense.
1,000% bet everything I own that
if they don't, then they're
the police department it's not, the tape has not been altered, and the attorney
it has been altered because it has been altered because we see where in one video he's being punched in the face, and we're seeing in another one where none of that is shown. So that's an alteration to it right there. Now, as far as them AI generating something, maybe they didn't, maybe they did. We don't know. That's why it's not up to us to be the judge, the jury, and the district attorney. It's up to them. We don't know. They could have very well edited. They probably didn't edit it. We don't know that.
And I'm just giving a counterpoint. I'm not, Sister Fran. I'm saying my belief system.
I understand.
And I'm being emphatic that to my belief system that at this level, and Utica Police Department, that there has been no tampering with, because it's so forensically difficult to.
It's not difficult.
Okay.
They generate AI in under 2 seconds.
I'm sorry?
I was talking to Reverend Hodges. I thought I saw a hand, Reverend Hodges. Did I see your hand?
Yes, I'm going to have to go.
Oh, okay. All right.
right.
Well, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Take care.
Okay. Who I didn't hear from? Kevin. About the video. After I played the video, is there anything that you would like to add? or subtract?
Not still the same question as far as the options that were going on, and re-looking at the video. I haven't watched it since the first time I saw it. I still have the same questions as far as, was that the only option? I understand the young man was running away. I understand like adrenaline is rushing, emotions are high, there's a lot going on. But in that case, those are the reasons why we have such highly trained public officers. So though, with that being the case, was that pulling the weapon and using it and the young man seeming to be back? Again, I'm not an investigator. I can't divide up the video like that to be able to say, okay, this is exactly what happened. This is where he was shot. This is how it happened. But was that the only option? And was that the only course of action that could have happened during that situation? Or is there another sense of training or another sense of, these are things that could come through that we just didn't? So that's still my question. And I think I won't have answers until we get a full investigation. And like Heather was saying, thank God for Letitia James. So we'll see what happens on the flip side. But I still have the same question.
And 666 reads, he's watching from Facebook, says, no reason for a shot being fired. That's a heart shot. Keisha Daniel from YouTube says, it's called a taser, period. 666 says, they keep using kids riding their bikes in the road to use their power on them. He didn't point no gun or fake gun towards them. And Keisha saying, focus. And he was on his stomach when that cop shot him. And Keisha, final thing on YouTube says, at UPD Advantage, they edited the video to cover their ass. The heavens above will graze out those who took that child's last breath.
You
Okay.
know, sometimes when we hear stuff, if I can say something, sometimes when we hear stuff, right, it amounts to misinformation. Police was wrong, but I agree with Kevin, right, that what we see, we can all come out with a determination. You know, like, it was bad. It don't look good for the police. Okay, I asked myself the question, did he really have to shoot? When the kid had two guys on both sides of him, I seen the part of the clip where the cop was punching him. I seen that. And you mean to tell me for a 13-year-old kid, and I know he don't look like no adult. He couldn't be overpowered. Now we heard somebody say that he was on his stomach. Well, you can't get a chest shot from when somebody laying on his stomach. See, so that's a part of the misinformation. You know, I mean, we all have our opinion. I think it was wrong. That's my opinion, in a nutshell. I think it was a tragedy. Excuse me. And I shudder to think, with an unwillingness to accept that this cop should get off. Okay, it was bad. We all seen it. All right, so that's a prime example why, they shouldn't be carrying guns. It comes right back to the family. Okay, it comes right back to the family, man. Like, what kind of toys you giving your kids? What type of information are you imparting to your kids, right, when they walk out there in the street? Kids gonna be kids, and and the parents probably don't know everything that they should know. All right, that's a fact. But in the times that we living in, okay, I don't know. I don't know what else I could say. This is dangerous times, man. These kids are killing each other. All right. They're bluffing each other. They're doing some what kids do, and they shouldn't have to die for it. So finding a solution to this is not going to be easy.
And I'm just wondering what would make a 13-year-old carry a gun, whether it's authentic or not. Like what's going through his mind, and
That's what we taught
going.
them. That's what we taught our children. We taught them that, having BB guns and taser guns and Orby guns and playing cops and robbers and Western, that's a part of being a man. That's what we taught them. That's what
Mm-hmm.
society has taught them as a whole, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then they carrying these guns. We carried them when we was younger. We had little cap guns, pop pop. We had
Yeah, mine was
little
orange.
toy guns. Yeah, me too. But and
You
a
can't
lot
do
of
that in the
it,
black neighborhood, though.
a lot of it is that we should be blaming the company that manufactures these replica guns. Why aren't they held
Hmm.
accountable for this? You making guns that are literally getting children killed because they're playing with things that we taught them or told them as a society that this is what being a man is. Carrying a gun, playing good cop, bad cop, playing Smith and Westerns, being the cowboy, all of that stuff has been instilled in them through us from
Very true.
generations. Every movie we watch.
Very true.
So a 13-year-old, my son is 12. He had Orby guns. He had all of those things too, but I tried to buy him the type of guns that you can tell that this is a fake gun. Tell us a cap gun. We have our children, some of us parents take our kids out to the wild or to areas to go shoot ducks. They go hunt. They do this. They have BB guns shooting at bottles and cans and stuff like that. This is the stuff that we instilled in our children. Society has molded our kids this way. And then now we're confused of why he's walking around with a BB gun.
All right. Well, I don't know what else to say, but I'm here for you all and everyone who's listening. If by the way you're listening, or if you just come across this video, just know that each and every individual on this panel is available to you. Am I correct in saying that, my fellow leaders? We are available to you. You can just contact us here and leave a message. Find a way to leave a message. Email address is pureflowradio@gmail.com. If you would like to discuss something that we didn't discuss here or talk to each and every one of us individually, I will find my way to these leaders who are on this call today to get them to you. If you want to speak in private or just leave a message here, whatever way you feel comfortable. But I don't know how you all are feeling, but I feel like it's a great time to wrap it up. If anybody else wanted to say anything else, this will be your time. Speak to me.
I really just want to
Yes.
say to the community as a whole to, just stay aware, like keep up, like, pay attention to what's going on. Teach your children, laws and teach them to, kind of know how to handle these situations because we are teaching our children. They are sponges. They are soaking up every little bit of information, every little bit of what they see us do. We are a representation of our children. So, we gotta make sure that we're parenting our kids to the best of our abilities. And also, don't always look at all the police officers or look at community outreach leaders as not with you, because what do they have for you? And just try and like we need to start neighborhood watches again. We need to start policing our polices. We need to start, being there and caring for our children and each other children. Look after them too. I understand it's not your child, but they're somebody's child. And if they're doing something wrong, speak to the parents. Let these parents know what their children are out here doing. Often children is different when they're not around their parents.
Correct.
See, that's the whole idea behind the community coming to these meetings that we be having at the churches and so forth. If you're not involved, you can't claim your part in being responsible. You can't even deny it. Okay, it's not anybody else's kids but the kids in the community, whether they from Vietnam, Africa, Arabia, or what have you. They all living in the same community. And if we don't all get involved, man, like where are we going with this? You know, a lesson in stubbornness, like indifference. We got to get involved. Everybody. Lift every voice. If you can do it in song, you can and do it in protest, and you can do it in trying to find a solution. That's the truth. People ought to stop being so indifferent, okay, and start trying to make a difference. Like you said something that was very important. Like years ago, like most time in a close-knit community, everybody knows everybody's kids. Everybody knows everybody's kids. And if their kids are respectful, when you catch them doing something wrong, they're gonna respect you and stop doing what they're doing. We got to get back to that. That's what the village is all about. Okay, that's what the Practice Johnson Village is all about. You know, it takes a whole village. It takes a village to bring up children. If you leave them to their own devices, they're gonna turn stuff out. They're gonna mess up. That's the truth. Kids gonna do what kids do. If somebody's bringing these guns and giving them these guns, man, and we got to find out, man, and stop that gun traffic. It's up to us. Nobody else. We live here. That's all I got for you.
Pam says, yes, sir. That's true.
I'll jump in on that part. I agree with Chris 100% in that it's up to us to figure out what we do next from here. As far as the family, I'm 100% advocating for the family to find their own representation, to speak to the Attorney General, to follow the steps necessary to find out what options they have. As far as the police department, we know they're doing an investigation right now. We know they're trying to figure out things on their end. But for us as the community, and like Chris was saying, the people who live here, what are we going to do to make sure that we are building that community of it's not just us, it's not just my kid, but it's our kid and it's our community. So what are the steps that we can take to start to rebuild that? So that's sort of where my mindset is in terms of like, okay, where do we go from here and what can we do now?
Yes. Aaron, please.
Yeah, I would just, my closing remarks would just be to just remember at the end of the day, we just lost a human being. We lost a student. We lost this, a family's son, nephew, grandson. Just put that in perspective. Just at the end of the day, it's I send my condolences to the family who's still just trying to understand all of this, and even for the Korean community in general who don't, some of them who don't speak English, and trying to get this all translated into a language that they can understand too. So it's really just understanding the knowledge gap that exists here and trying to fill that in so that everyone can understand what's going on and what needs to happen too. But we have to have some humility in this. We have to just know that this is still a human being that we literally lost. We're a small city. We're 60,000 people. It's we lose one person, and and as we just saw the last few days, it really, really has an impact. It really matters. So just really, we just can't forget about the humility in this. We just have to understand that when you really decide to take someone's life, you're taking away something very important to the family and to the community too.
Thank you, Aaron. That was really, I'm holding back my tears.
Folks, I'm gonna cut out. I'm checking out.
Alrighty. And
Take care.
take care.
Yes, I'm going to go too, but I just want Aaron. I amplify your bringing it back home that the young man was a human being, and he deserves all of our sentiment at the highest level. So thank you.
Thank you. Many community members are not aware of these meetings. How are the notices getting out?
Exactly, because I don't see them often, and if I wasn't heavily involved, I wouldn't know about a lot of them myself.
I think that's the biggest piece. So with a lot of the meetings, it's either email or Facebook invitations. So like you were saying, if you don't know somebody who's going to those meetings, then it's hard to find out about them. So I think being able to spread that info, and for the people who are in those meetings or for the people who have those email lists, to continue to build them as much as possible. So if you are at all interested, or if you know anybody who's interested, feel free to reach out to, I can say probably anybody on this panel right now. And we'd be happy to get you plugged into whatever email lists that are out, whatever flyers are going out, whatever Facebook invitations are happening, just to make sure more people know about them. Like you were saying, if you don't know somebody who's going to them, then it's hard to find out when they're happening. Sometimes it's a lot of things on the same day, or it could be like this meeting over here, but then they didn't communicate with these people over here, so they didn't know about it. So a lot of it is, once you find out about it, spreading the word as much as possible.
Thank you for your
Also,
comment, Sharona.
if I can piggyback off of that, you know, they got to give enough notice too. A lot of the times when I find out about the meeting, it's like a
Definitely.
week away or a week and a half away. Sometimes people already have their lives already mapped out for that week coming up. So that kind of stopped them from being able to attend also. And then utilizing social media platforms a lot more, because a lot of people, although they have emails, they don't really check their emails that much, and they don't really look for that type of stuff. They're usually looking for specific stuff in the emails. So yeah, I think we need to start like utilizing the social media platforms a lot more and spreading the word that way. All social media platforms, not just Facebook.
Okay, so while we have Kevin here, could you just remind us when the Cornhill Neighborhood Associate meetings are, the frequency, just in general, so we can have like Shatej's point about ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So the Cornhill Neighborhood Association meetings are typically the second Tuesday of each month. They are from 6 p.m. to 7:30. They were at the Mid-Utica Community Center, but we've been holding them at Rebuilding the Village on James Street. So we have canceled the July and August meetings, given a lot of things that were going on in the summertime, like you were saying, with people traveling and whatnot. So we'll be picking back up in the second week of September.
Okay. And Heather, who was just on the call, I know she leads the South Utica Association meetings for our neighbors who live in South Utica. And I don't know if anyone here knows any information about West Utica or East Utica meetings. I don't know, Javian, do you know when the West Utica meetings meet typically?
Yeah, I want to say it's the first Wednesday of every month, but I could confirm. But I do know that right now they're not doing it for like summer. I think they're going to resume in like August or September.
Okay.
I think August is going to be the next meeting.
So I'm hoping that the listening audience take heed to what they're saying about the frequency of these meetings. They're always the first or second day of each month, so it's reoccurring. I know the city council meetings or every first and third Wednesday of every month. That's at City Hall. I believe that's at 6 p.m.
Also, I do want to mention Heather's not on the call right now, but she actually does have a website called everyvoiceutica.org. Is that correct, Aaron?
Yes.
Saying that right? Okay, so it's like everyvoiceutica.org. So you can check that out. And what she does is she'll list all of the council meetings. You can subscribe and get like newsletters and stuff like that. She'll post all the meeting dates and the time, the information, the location, all of that. So it's good to like tap into that resource to actually find council meetings, find neighborhood association meetings, because every ward, I mean, Utica's broken up into 6 wards. So each ward has their own neighborhood association meeting. So West Utica, South Utica, North Utica, Cornhill, East Utica, like they all have like meetings that are different times and different dates. But I believe on Heather's website, everything is listed there too.
Because you know,
Yes.
our social media is so like, you know, diverse with people that live south, west, east, north. Is there any way that someone can put together like a flyer that lists all the wards meetings so that we can like start pushing that around?
Okay, that's a very good question. Shatasia, maybe you and I can get together and formulate that.
Okay,
Would you be willing to do that with me?
absolutely.
And Heather just texted me and she told me it's every second Monday of the month. So every second Monday of the month is the South Utica Association meeting. And Shatasia and I are going to work on Sharona. She said they need more publicity. So Shatasia and I have committed to doing that, or we have at least for the ones that's coming back in August or September. And Keisha says, hoping this matter has made other youngsters aware that it's going down every other week, seeing in the news another child gone due to gun violence, but a protector took life. Okay. So we got that straightened out. We got the comments in. We got initiatives being made to make these meetings more public, and we have everyvoiceutica.org. And also, Javian and Aaron, you also have an initiative of awareness going on surviving the political arena. I think that's just as equally as important, because if we're going to all these meetings and don't know how to navigate while we're at these meetings and don't know what role is being played, you guys also have a platform. Could you talk a little bit about that before we leave? And what is the vision and goal of this vodcast that you two started?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll start, and then obviously, Aaron, you could add to it. But Aaron and I, we've been getting involved more politically. We wanted to provide grassroots education for anybody, like, because we come from a background where we did not really know much about politics growing up ourselves, the ins and outs and all the details and stuff like that. So this is basically for us to really sit down, invite people on, and just educate the community about politics. Right now, we're actually going over the Common Council. We've had a couple of episodes where it's just basically Katie Aiello was on one of the episodes. Heather was on one of them as well. Just kind of talking about the council members and what they do, what they can't do, what they're able to do, what their role looks like, how to get involved, how to be more civically engaged. The hope is to, Aaron, you could cut in any time, but the hope is to definitely educate the community and provide just this resource. It's called Politic Voice. That's the name of the podcast.
Yeah. It's spelled POLITIK and then voice. You can search it up on YouTube and then you can see the episodes. But yeah, you described it perfectly. I'll just add on by saying we definitely want to continue to expand onto different political systems. So as Jamie mentioned, we're on the Common Council. We definitely want to expand out to the different political branches in our government too. And we have been like inviting guests on who are knowledgeable about those political systems, whether they are part of it themselves or they have been like an advocate in that area before. So like Heather has been an advocate in the Common Council, and then Katie is a council member herself too. So it's just getting all that knowledge together, because we want to give that unique perspective, that unique knowledge into this, because it's not about turning this into a glorified civics lesson. It's more just putting in the perspectives that each person has, and just also emphasizing why like civic engagement and voting is important too as well. And we want to bring more stories that people have so that they could hear it and then get inspired by it too as well, because everyone has their own unique story and we want to share it with everybody as well too. And it's really about putting that information together to create a civic education curriculum, so that if people are interested in hearing about the Common Council, there's information on that. If they're interested about like hearing what voting's about, or how to be educated about political issues and political candidates, there's information about that too. So it's really about centralizing all that information together and putting that into categories too.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like, we understand like civic engagement, especially in our community, is very low. So part of, you know, why things happen, or even different legislations that are being passed, like if we're not present and sitting at the tables when they're discussing these legislations and these rules and guidelines, then we don't really have a say so whether or not we want it to be enacted. So this is part of the responsibility of every single one of us, is to be more civically engaged. And I also know like politics is kind of like a dry topic. Nobody's really that into it. But I think the incentive to get into it should be like things that just happen. You know, everyone comes together and now they can voice their opinion. They could actually get resolved if everyone bands together and works together. So that's the whole role of civic engagement and why it's crucially important.
Yes. Very good. Okay. Do you guys have a Facebook page, or how would they find your it's on YouTube, I believe.
Yeah, that's a good question, because we don't really have a platform. We just threw it up. I think it's on my YouTube channel. You could just type my name. It's actually Will Javian Dawson. So just put a Will in front of the Javian, and then you put the last name Dawson. But yeah, I'm on Facebook as well. You could just add me, just Javian Dawson, as my name is on the screen. And if you have any questions, you can reach out on how to get that. Aaron, you also posted it on your Facebook with the link and all of that too, right? So,
yeah, Facebook, my Instagram, my Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn too is where I post the links there too as well. So as we continue to grow and continue to develop, that's something to keep in mind as well.
Like a brand identity, like that's obviously the next goal. We just wanted to put it out, and now that we're going on episode 5 soon, like now it's just like, okay, we should tweak this, we should do that. So we're building as we go. So the next vision would be to create an actual platform where it's more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Wow. Okay, fellas. All right. So that was this. I don't have any words. I just have to repeat that. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me this evening. And you're here and you're the last one standing. So that tells me a lot about who you are as individuals. And no shade to anyone who came on before. I'm grateful to everyone who's listening, everyone who's watching, but special thanks for the gentlemen who are here, active in the community, who I've seen and worked with personally and known professionally. I know that all of you three, I know professionally and personally, are doing spectacular, phenomenal things in our community. And the fact that your complexion is this complexion is very promising for me, and it's restoring my hope in society and in the local community. So I just want to thank you for being here, and thank you for your service in our community. And you all three are young too. You not know old men. Some 3 young melanated men. Kevin giving away. 30 and 40 is not old. You're just getting to your prime. So again, this is Reality Speaks TV. I'm your lady, hashtag Spark Plenty. This is real talk, real people in real time. Until next time, peace. Good night.
Have a good night, everyone.